note. Thank you notes are really a simple concept. It's not something like an executive summary where you might not have a lot of interaction with them prior to learning about them. You should already really be familiar with it. And the point I want to make first is it doesn't go much beyond that. I mean, you have the knowledge already to do this. It's not that hard. I think probably we've all sent them. I know we've probably all received them. But a thank you note isn't really anything more than just a gesture of appreciation. You're showing gratitude for something that someone's done for you, whether it's given you something or done a favor for you. So just remember that's all a thank you note is. You just need to get that gratitude across to the person that you're giving it to. And if you do that, you've been successful. So I'm going to give you some tips as to how to do that, kind of a formula. But if you don't do it that way and you get that point across, that's fine. Just keep in mind that that's what you're doing, is showing gratitude. So a lot of people can be intimidated by thank you notes, and I tried to figure out why that was when I was doing this presentation. And I think the reason that people are intimidated is because of how formal they can come across. When you receive a thank you note, a lot of times it's really formally worded, and a lot of people don't know how to do that. And so if we can just get beyond that and realize that the point is just to express thanks, then the formality will kind of come. So first, why do we write a thank you note? A thank you note, as I just said, expresses thanks. So when you do that, you're not only expressing thanks, but you're expressing other things too. And most importantly, you're expressing sincerity. When you write a thank you note, what comes across with your gratitude is sincerity. If you can get that thanks across in a way that shows how sincere you are, you've gone beyond just giving thanks, and that's what's important. The reason for that is, all other things being equal, people will want to enter into relationships, professional or personal, with someone who they really like and they know and they trust. And a thank you note can help you establish all those things. They can make a person like you, they can make a person know you better and trust you more. So let's go quickly through how they do that so you can understand why we do it. Knowing. They can help someone know you better, because thank you notes are kind of hard to come by these days, especially handwritten personal ones in the mail. Not a lot of people get those, and when they get that from you, they're going to feel like they know you better. It creates a more personal relationship between you and them than they would otherwise have. Liking. This one's really easy. I mean, you've all probably received a thank you card. It makes you feel good. When you read something that you did that was good, you think, oh, I was really nice, And it really makes you feel good, and you associate that feeling with the sender then. So that feeling is that feeling of happiness or feeling good about yourself comes from that person, and so you're going to want to be around that person more. Lastly, trusting. If you send someone a thank you note, you spent time doing it, you spent effort doing it, you spent a lot of thought on the process, and that's not going to be lost on them because they've probably done it and they know it takes a minute to think about, why am I writing this person a thank you note? And when they think about that, they're going to begin to think of you on a level playing field with them, on kind of a social level that's the same as theirs. And it's easy for them to trust you when they do that. So again, knowing, liking, and trusting is what you're going for with a thank you note. So when do you write them? So we know why we're writing them, but how do you know when's appropriate? I think there's two major scenarios that we want to keep in mind. Times when you absolutely have to write a thank you note. These are times where if you don't write a thank you note, the would-be recipient is going to notice that you didn't write a thank you note. And they're going to miss it, and they're going to notice that. And then there's a set of times where writing a thank you note will set you apart. It's where they might not expect it, and a lot of people probably wouldn't do it. But having done it, you'll be a lot more memorable. So first, if we talk about the times where you always have to do it, these are non-negotiable, and you just need to do it. So when you receive an important gift, you have to write a thank you note. This is personal, professional, whatever. If you receive a gift, you've got to do it. These are things like wedding gifts, shower gifts, graduation gifts, sympathy gifts if you're in the hospital, charitable gifts, and any type of gift that is a major impact on you. You have to write a note for. And that includes not just gifts, but notes. If you like a graduation congratulatory card, a sympathy card, you have to write a thank you note for that. Those are all gifts, and people will expect a thank you note for a gift or a thank you in some form or the other. Especially true for gifts you receive in the mail. If nothing else, a thank you note just lets the sender know that you got it. You just have to do it in that case. If you're a house guest, if you stay in somebody else's home, you have to write them a thank you note for an extended period of time. If you're there, you're taking a lot out of their daily routine, and you need to thank them for that. If someone throws a party for you, in a professional setting, maybe a congratulatory party, a big event, but a personal level birthday party, if someone throws your birthday party, if someone takes the time to throw a party in your honor, then they would expect a thank you note for that, and rightfully so. If your boss entertains you, absolutely you have to write him a thank you note, whether it's for dinner or for an event or just for a talk. Thank you note is a must. Just let him know that you appreciate his time, because he probably doesn't have very much of it. Sometimes, these are the sometimes. When can you write a thank you note to set yourself apart? So these are the ones that actually I think you should focus on. These are the ones that will make you a step above everybody else. So Ms. Hamilton talked about job interviews. For us, a job interview is going to be a must, but for a lot of people, it's not something they think of, and a lot of people won't do it. So if you do it, you'll set yourself apart. Absolutely do it for a job interview, because a lot of people won't. I mean, you'd be surprised. Not everybody will think of that. Other times when you will send a thank you note to set yourself apart, maybe you've already thanked the person in person, the giver in person. So if you received a gift at a birthday party or something and you said thank you in person, you don't have to send a thank you note, but doing so will set you apart. Personal favors, if you're sick and a friend does a lot of errands for you or something like that. If you go to a dinner party, you don't have to write a thank you note for attending a dinner party, but writing the hostess a thank you note is a really nice gesture, and she'll remember that. Other times you don't have to write a thank you note, and actually I think this is the most important of all of them, except for your job interview. When someone goes above and beyond, if someone does something for you more than they had to, they should get a thank you note for that, so they are appreciated and they want to do it again. I'll give you an example. A representative from a company that you're working with, maybe a sales rep or something like that from a supplier, they have to work with you and sell you things. That's their job. But they don't have to take you out and play golf or have dinner with you and talk about work. That's something they did that was a favor to you, and that's something where you can really set yourself apart by thanking them. So we've talked about why to write thank you notes and when to write them. But the nuts and bolts is how do we write them. And this is the part that intimidates people. But it's not as hard as you would think. And I'll talk about 3 basic points that'll get you through it. And as I mentioned at the beginning, this is a formula, but you don't have to stick to this if you get that gratitude across. Just keep that in mind as your goal. So all thank you notes should have a clear introduction. Your first sentence should let the recipient know that it's a thank you note. If they don't know after the first sentence, then it's not really effective, because thank you notes should be short and to the point. You know, surprising the reader might be a great literary technique, but it's not the time to do it. A thank you note is not effective if they don't know why you're writing it. So be specific. Thank you for something in the first sentence, or I really appreciate something. Details. The second sentence should have specific details about what you're thanking them for. Thank you for the blue sweater that you gave me on my birthday. A lot of times the the person that the thank you note is going to may not remember why they're being thanked, and if they don't get it, it's not going to be effective at all. So be specific. I really appreciate the meeting we had last week in the park or whatever. The third sentence is where you can set yourself apart. Add something special. That special content in the third sentence is what's going to make it memorable. Add something personal, something you remember about the person, something that they'll remember about you, something that'll make your note better than everybody else's note. I have like a minute left. I just want to go through a couple tips that'll make those 3 things easier for you, and then I'll take a couple questions. I have a handout with all this material on it, so I should have said this at the beginning. You don't have to write all of it down. So tips. Handwritten notes are more memorable. You don't have to handwrite a note. You can even write a thank you note on business stationery if you want to in the letter format. But a thank you note written by hand and delivered in the mail or personally is going to be more memorable. So do that when possible. Make your thank you note unusual. The goal is to be memorable, and so the more unusual it is, the more memorable it'll be. Be sincere. Don't lie. I mean, if you didn't like the gift, you don't have to say you like the gift. You could say something alternatively, like, I really appreciate the effort you put into getting me the gift. And the last thing I want to do is just put up a couple examples of clean thank you cards. These are clean cards. You want to use cards like this that aren't frilly, don't have a lot going on. This one just says thank you. This one has the company name on it. But you want to just be real simple and clean and professional with the type of card you're using. You could do it on a personal note card if you'd rather. But these are some examples of thank you note cards that that would be really effective because they're so simple. I think that I'm out of time, so what I'll do is I'll just hand out this sheet. It just has the highlights of what I went through. Any questions while I do that?
Okay, first, thanks to Chad. So questions for Chad on taking notes.
What's the appropriate time limit to set, after a meeting or after a dinner party or something like that?
Well, the rule that I would follow is just the sooner the better. It's always better to send one rather than not. And if you honestly, I've been in this situation where I honestly didn't have 3 minutes to write a thank you note for 3 days. You know what I mean? That happens, especially in a college time where you're working and you're taking classes. If it takes 3 days, it's still better to write it than to not write it. The sooner the better. It'll be more memorable if it's on his desk the next morning when he gets to work. That's how I would approach that situation. But remember, if you get the sentiment across, it's better than not doing it at all.
I'll add, don't give them a thank you note the same day that you got something. That's the one. But the next day is great. That looks like you turned it around quickly. The same day is a little bit weird.
Yeah. Got it.
On that point, since if you're mailing it, not emailing it or hand delivering it, would it be okay to mail it the same day because it's not going to get there until?
Yeah, that would be ideal because then if you're mailing it from the same town, chances are it'll be on his desk the next day. So that's a great idea.
Yeah, let me just add, with email, a thank you on the same day isn't necessarily a bad thing depending on what it was for. If it was somebody that you're fairly close with and it was just a lunch or something, an email later in the afternoon saying, hey, thanks for getting together for lunch is fine. For a job interview, you may want to wait until the next day, early the next day. And then, for printed, again, with the printed thank yous, just make sure it gets there the next day, not the same day.
I just want to make one point. I ran out of time for this in my presentation, but just so it's clear on the sheet I handed out, the last thing might not make sense to you because I was planning on explaining it. It says, watch your manner of address or something like that. So that's just keeping in mind titles when you're addressing someone in a business setting versus a family member. But then also, and this is something I didn't think of until I started reading about it, but if you're addressing it to maybe someone that hosted a party for you or something, you don't always want to address it to the whole family. If someone hosted a party for you, you probably want to address the note just to the hostess. If her husband really didn't do anything, then don't write the note to him as well, because that's a slight to her. You can mention him in the note, thank your husband for the great conversation during the night or something. But likewise, if the whole family gave you a gift, don't just write it to the mom of the day. Other questions?
Any other questions? Okay, Chad, thanks very much. Another round of applause.